Hey guys, Johnny here with another draw along. Today we're going to be drawing Asian forest scorpion. So without further ado, let's rock and roll. So this scorpion has a pretty tricky shape, and we're drawing it from a pretty tricky angle too. So what we're going to do first, well, first as usual, I'm going to mark my borders off here on my paper. For me, it helps me stay inside the camera while I draw, but I do recommend that you guys also do this to help you stay in frame of your paper, because sometimes your drawing could move off too far to one side, maybe even go out of the page. This just helps you keep everything lined up. Okay, so we're going to start. This is actually called a gesture line that we're going to draw. So we're going to draw the gesture from the head here, and his body is curling all the way up like this into the tail. So with this gesture line, you want it to be as smooth as possible, and you're not trying to get the exact shape or form of the scorpion yet. You're trying to get its pose, and he has this really cool pose where his back is bending over and his tail is pointing almost out front in front of him. Okay, so we have the gesture line in place. Now we're going to add some structure to it, starting with the head. So it looks like his head is kind of a triangle shape. So we're going to start at the bottom here, add a triangle shape to that gesture line, like this. Okay, so imagine this is the front of his face, and then the back of his, or the top part of his head, is going to go like this. Okay, I'm actually going to make it go in a little bit further. And then from the other side of the head, we're going to follow this gesture line up and around. So the body reaches to about here. Okay. And then we're going to cap off the body here. And then the rest of the gesture line is going to be the tail. But let's close off the body so we can picture what it looks like. Okay, we got that. Now we're going to come down around here, and the body is actually going to overlap the top of the head a little bit like this. Okay. So now if you could picture it, his head is bent here, looking forward, and his body is bending upward, and then the tail is going to curve down around like this. So from the tail, we're going to go from this cutoff section and then just follow the line up here like that, because it's curling up and around, and it's pointing forward with its spike on its tail. And for the spike, we're going to draw kind of a bulb shape. So it's bigger up here on the part where it connects to the tail, and as it goes away, it's going to get smaller, like that. And then for the very end of it, we're just going to draw the tip. Okay. So right now we have the structure of the body, and we'll add, because this scorpion, it has its body broken up in a bunch of sections, but we're going to add those details later. Let's move on to the claws right now. So here on the side of its head, we have a joint where the claws the claw is going to come out of. So we'll just draw a circle here for the joint. Okay. And then we're going to do some more gesture lines to capture the pose of the claw. It looks like the claw is broken up into 3 sections. So we're going to do one gesture going up here like this. Okay. And then there's going to be a bend right here. And it looks like this part is going to be longer than this part here. So the next joint going into the claw, we're going to shorten this up actually. So I drew a pretty long line. We're not going to need all that space. I'm going to cut it off right here and have the claw. The claw does have a curve to it. So our gesture, we want a little bit of a curve to it. What I mean by gesture, if it's not clear by now, is the gesture, we're just trying to capture the pose that he's in. And the reason why we do the gesture lines is so we could follow a nice, smooth pose instead of having it look so stiff where we're just drawing straight details from the start. Okay. So we have our gesture. Now we could add some volume to this claw. And by the way, a lot of these gesture lines we're going to be getting rid of. If we don't draw right over them, we're going to erase them later on. So you want to make sure you draw pretty lightly when you do these gesture lines. Anyways, to add the mask to this back part of the arm here, we're just going to bring it up like this. It's going to be thinner here than it is here at the joint. So we have that part. Now we're going to curve in. And when we bring it back down to the joint, we're going to make it smaller or thinner here. You see that? Here it's really thin, here it gets pretty wide. Okay. Now for the middle part, it's going to be more of a straight line going across. And then this here on the bottom part, it's a little bit more curved. Okay. Let me get rid of the gesture lines we don't need anymore so you could see it more clearly. And then from here, the other joint, we're gonna do another curve like this. So kind of like this one. We're gonna do it here. And then the claw is gonna come out from here. So the claw is a big bulb shape. We're actually going to start flat on the top and then curl it out into the bulb. Okay, and then at the end, you make it nice and pointy. Like this. And I'll get rid of this so you could see it better. Okay, so we have one claw down. Let's do the next one. Over here on this side of the head, we're going to draw another ball for the joint. This one looks a little bigger actually, I think, because maybe it's because it's the one facing the viewer. So we're going to do it just a little bit bigger than this one. Actually, this one we could tuck back behind the head like this. See how it's not a full circle? This one will make a full circle. Okay, so there's the joint. Now the gesture line again is going to be just like this one. We're going to go up slightly here. Then go across straight. Whoops, that one's kind of sloppy. Let me clean it up. And then here, it's going to curl again. Okay. When you're doing these gesture lines, don't worry so much about getting the right size or proportion or placement. just think of the pose more, because once we start adding the mass and details, that's when we could correct for size and proportion and all that. Okay, so for this top part, we're gonna go up. Notice this time I'm following the gesture line. I'm actually gonna use the gesture line as part of the structure. So I'm gonna go up like this. And then this joint is curved this way. And again, when we go back down here, we're gonna make this part of the arm smaller where it connects. Okay. And then here, this arm is bent a lot more than this one. So what this part of the joint is gonna look like, this big claw section is actually gonna come in like this. And it's overlapping a lot of this part of the arm. So you're seeing a lot less of this part here. As opposed to here, you see a lot, pretty much all of it. But because the claw here is bending so much, it's covering up this part of the arm. So we're gonna cover that. Do the bulb shape for the claw. And then as it comes here, we're gonna make it pointy. And these claws also have a split in the middle, you know, so they could do that. So we're gonna add a line here to split the claw into its two pieces. And we're also gonna do that right here on this side. Okay. Now we're gonna get into the legs. Because of the angle and the pose, we're not gonna see all of the legs. Let's start on this side. We have one leg coming up from behind the head here. So this gesture is gonna go straight up like this. And then it's gonna come down and tuck behind the arm like that. And the bottom part of the leg is gonna come down here on the other side. So what you could do to help line this up, this leg, so say this top part meets here, and to make sure the bottom part lines up with it, and you're not drawing it in some random place, you could draw your gesture line straight through the arm, very lightly, just to make sure it lines up. And then once you have your gesture line there, we'll add our details over that. So this leg is, you know, goes up to the joint. And just like this part at the joint, it's thicker. That when it connects back to the body, it gets thinner. So I'll add that detail. And then we'll add the rest of the leg like this. And on the other side of the arm, we bring it to a point. And then once you get your details in place, you don't need the gesture line anymore. Just get rid of it. And then you'll have a nice straight leg that's nice and lined up. It won't be crooked or anything. Okay, so there's one leg. On this side, his other leg is just bent behind the body. So we're gonna just we're not even gonna do a gesture line, we're just gonna draw the leg like that. We just see the back top part of it. Okay. There's a third leg here, but it looks like it's covered up by the body. So we're gonna move to this side. And then the leg, the first one I'm seeing is actually coming from under the claw, and it's coming down and over like this. So this is gonna be one leg here. And we have the joint here we can mark off. Bring it to the point. It's the first leg. The second leg is going to start from behind this arm. We have one section going out like this. And then the other two are kind of lined up. This one's going to go a bit more straight. And then as we get to the bottom, we're going to curve it. We're going to bend it a little bit more. Okay. Then add our mass here. I'm going to get this side. Okay. Then here at the bottom, we just bring it down to the point. Like that. And then we got one more leg before we get into the details of the body and the head. Okay. So this leg is actually going to start, we don't see where it's connecting to the body, so that's covered up by this leg. So we're going to start back here. And then this side is going up, over, and down, just a little bit. Okay. Adding the details. Here I'm going to go straight across, but I'm going to curve it here on the underside. Then the last part we just bring down to the point. Okay. All right, look at that. It's starting to look like a scorpion now. Let me just clean this up here. Okay. All right, final details. Here we go, guys. I'm actually going to switch pencils to, this one's sharper, so better for working details. We're going to break the body up into all the sections, starting from here. So the way we do that is actually, we have the back part of his body, but we need to add the side because we're seeing a little bit of the side. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to draw a little bit out on this point. Okay. And then from there, we're just going to follow the curve of the body here, all the way down to where the legs cover it up. So just like that. All right, so we got the back body, side body, then we got the front of the face here. Actually, let's start with the front of the face and work back. It's hard to spot all the details, but what I'm seeing, this triangle here, we're gonna cut off a bit of portion of it like this. And I think this might be the mouth. So we have that, and then we have this bottom triangle still. Okay, and then here on the front, we have like a line dividing it into two halves. Okay. And then we have some creases in here that go like this. One on that side, and then we'll do it on this side too, like this. Okay. And it looks like the eyes might fall somewhere in this area. So I'm going to darken this line up here just so we could see it better. And then the stripes, they're not really stripes, they're the lines that break up the sections of the body. We're going to start it back here. We're going to just go along. Try to keep them evenly spaced. Actually down here, they're closer together, and then as they go up, they're gonna get further apart. I don't think they're actually getting further apart, but just because of the angle we're seeing it, it looks like they're getting further apart. Okay. And down here, the lines have a bit more of a curve. When they start getting up here, the curve starts to go the opposite way. That's because the body is turning, right? So since it's turning, these angles are going to be different. Okay, darken this up here. And then the tail, to break it up into sections, we're not just going to draw lines, we're actually going to make, let's start from up here. They're going to be kind of like little balls sections on the tail. So this part is longer, is more of a long shape. So we're gonna make kind of like a bulb shape like this. And then coming out from there, this side is round. Like this. But then this back curved part, we're gonna keep straight. So you notice too, the curve I do it on this side, it's going out past that structure line that we drew, right? Because this line that we drew at first, it's just a guide for us to follow. When we add the details, we're overlapping that guide just a little bit. Okay, so here, come around, all the way around to the end here where it's flat. And then another one. You'll notice too at this stage of the drawing, I'm pressing, well, I'm drawing darker. My lines are, I'm trying to make dark and pretty clean. Okay. And then we close it up here like this. All right, now we have all our drawing and our details in place where we need. Now's the time to go back and clean anything up, get rid of lines. If you need to make any kind of adjustments, maybe you feel like one of your legs is off, you could adjust the position. Clean up your line work. Make sure everything is nice and crisp. Like that. I think mine is doing pretty good. So there you go, your Asian forest scorpion. Really fun drawing by the request of our buddy Aiden. So hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for joining. Catch you next time.